love has down the mountain that I do round. Not you're my reflection, going by within. Last time. Hello, this is Fiction, and you are watching Rewrite City Live. Okay, so we just want to open up with a little landslide by Flatwood Back, because that's always fun. Oh my mind. We're gonna come back. We're gonna get a little more light.
Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, children get older, I'm getting older too. So
I think that did something. Yes. Okay. So I just want to say for anyone people that are here, because there's no one here, and people that might come later, I will be doing these on Sundays. I want to do them every Sunday, but life has it probably won't be every Sunday. But if I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be on a Sunday. I don't think I read any further than the last time I read it, so you haven't missed anything yet. I'm getting older too. So
take this love, take it down. Oh, if you climb the mountain and you turn around, if you see my reflection, so apologies. Last time down.
I totally did.
And if you see my reflection, don't go. Cover here.
That sounds okay.
Or maybe the landslide will bring me down. Well, the landslide will bring me down.
That was nice. It was real nice. Okay, so I'm gonna start chapter 32. Okay. No. The word No. The word tears from my throat as disbelief and disgust claw at me, threatening to rip me to shreds. Jax doesn't make a sound. His eyes wide and locked with mine. Silent tears slip down his cheek, clinging to the. I feel like I'm obligated to say what happened before because I do slightly remember. Just so anyone that comes and doesn't want to watch the last video. The last scene was. I mean, you'll get it through context clues. You're smart. Okay, I'm gonna start over. No. The words tears through my throat, and as disbelief and disgust claw at me, threatening to rip me to shreds. Jax doesn't make a sound. His words wide No, his eyes wide and locked with mine. Silent tears slip down his cheeks, clinging to the thick lashes that surround those big brown eyes. He looks at me, horrified, as he begins to tip backwards on his knees, unable to unable to stop himself from falling in his final moments. Not him. It wasn't supposed to be him. Never him. I grip his shoulders and I grip his shoulder and the back of his head, carefully lowering him to the ground through my blurry vision. I swipe at my eyes, trying to compose myself as I inspect the wound. The throwing star is embedded deep in his chest, blood oozing out from around it. Dark, heavy blood that isn't slowing. The type of blood that accompanies a goodbye. I did this to him. He's going to die because of me, because I'm a monster. I physically shake my head, trying to clear it of the horrific thought and instead focus on the horrific scene before me. Hey, look at me. Jax, okay, buddy? My voice is soft, shaky, but his eyes find mine. Nonetheless, I can see the wound already leeching the life from him. His eyes unfocused, his breathing shallow. You're going to be fine, all right? His eyes flutter closed, and I pat his cheek, forcing him to look at me and stay with me. Do you hear me? You're going to be okay. His eyes well with tears, the feeling formed as I blink ferociously. I'm going to fix this. My voice breaks just like I'm about to. My little brother. The sound of the elites fighting around us suddenly come into focus again. I can hear the cling of weapons and cries of pain. Everything floods back. I remember why I'm here, what is going around, what is going on around me, and who really did this to Jax. A cold, chilling laugh echoes close by. His laugh. I whip it. I whip my head around, scanning the field for any sign the bastard that I will make bleed and brutally die for this. But he's nowhere to be found. I hear his laugh again, coming from only a few paces away. Nothing, no one is there. And then it hits me. He casts an illusion on himself. The bastard molded himself to our surroundings, wrapping his body in an illusion that makes that makes me that makes me see nothing as That makes me see nothing at all while letting Jax play his role. If it weren't for my dying brother beneath me, I would scour every inch of this field until I found Ace. And then I'd rip him to shreds. Slowly Jax grunts weakly, his eyes drifting shut. My gaze darts to his wound. If I get if if he doesn't get to a healer, he will die, and it'll be my fault. My heart hammers against my chest, my head spinning. There are no healers among us for us. There are no healers among us for me to draw power from. Jack's head rolls to the side with a soft moan. My little brother, my little brother, my little brother. I look up to this. I know. I look up at the sky and find the sun peeking back at me. It has almost fully risen above the horizon. And when it does, we'll be free of this trial. My eyes land on the crowd of people less than a mile from me. The chaos all around me. There will be a healer in that crowd. I wipe away tears that I don't remember shedding and pull Jax into my arms. And within the next heartbeat, I'm standing up and running towards the throng of people. Jax is barely beneath me. He might be he might be unconscious, but I'm not. But I sprint as fast as I can toward towards his salvation. I push Braxton Barney. I push Braxton's Barney ability into my muscles, making Jack significantly lighter in my arms and allowing me to run faster. I don't need to make it all the way to the crowd, only close enough so I can latch onto a healer's powers and use it to save him. Jax, I shout at Jax, I shout at him. Barely stirs. Jax, just hold on a little longer. I'm panting, petrified that I'm a little too late. But the crowd of people is getting closer, and I can see them pointing and shouting as they watch me sprinting straight for them. And then I begin to feel it, tingling, spreading through me, my bones, my very veins. It grows into a buzz before becomes a roar and rush of power. There are so many abilities at my disposal provided by the crowd, still dozens of yards away from me. I feel overwhelmed as I search for the role of the healer's ability within the wave of power crashing into me. There it is. I focus on it, hone it, shut out all the other abilities fighting to come to the surface, lying Jax on the ground. I drop to my knees at his side. I ignore the fact that I don't see his chest rising and grip the part of the throwing star still peeking out of his chest, needing to pull it out before I can heal him. I can if you can hear me, Jax, this is going to hurt like hell. Sorry. And then I yank it. It rips from his skin with a sickening sound. He doesn't so much as stir. I ignore the dead pooling in my gut. I ignore the dread pooling in my gut and place my hand over the now exposed open wound. I let the healer's power seep into his body, the gash, and begin mending it and molding the skin back together. I recall learning to mend each wound my father inflicted on me as a boy, and push that power into the boy beneath me. The blood stops, the skin knits back together, leaving nothing but a large pink scar what? Decorating the center of his chest. But he isn't moving. Jax! I pat his cheek lightly, nothing. Then shake him vigorously, nothing. Now I'm shouting shakily, Jax. My voice cracks as he lies there lifeless. My fingers frantically search for a pulse. No, 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 no. Little brother, little brother, little. My eyes fly open, and then my eyes, his eyes fly open. And then he's gulping down air. I thought he was a goner. To be fair, I thought he was gonna be dead. Thought they were gonna kill him off. I'm happy they didn't. I half laugh, half sob as I watch him blink. His hands flying to feel the smooth skin where my throwing star once was. He looks around, his brown eyes landing on me. His skin is weak. Excuse me. His voice hoarse, but hammering with humor. Are you, are you, are you going to try to kill me again? I poke out a laugh and run my hand over my face, wiping away the tears on it. I'm not planning on it, bud. And then I'm pulling him against my chest and crushing him into a hug, my hand ruffling his hair. The sound of beating drums the sound of beating drums startles us both. We turn towards the crowd not too far from us. They are cheering, applauding, stomping their feet in celebration. The sun has risen above the horizon. The first trial is complete. Now, before I get to the next chapter, I fully. As much it is like that, the fault of the dude that has the power of illusions, will also say this is very much the fault of the government. Ooh, for started having the trials exist in the first place. Yes. Boo hoo. This government. Hoo hoo. Okay, chapter 33 Payton. Thousands of thousands of eyes. No. Thousands of eyes pin me to the uncomfortable seat I've been forced into. The bowl is packed to the brim with buzzing aliens, all bubbling over with excitement. The last of the the last of the audience has filed into their seats, high up in the benches of the stadium encircling us, now staring down into the pit beneath them, expectantly. It's been 3 days, 3 days since the final fight at the edge of the Whispers, and there were only 7 of us left. And I'm like, can y'all remind me how many you started with? Because I feel like you started with 7. Um, and I know one person died, so maybe you started with 8. I'm gonna need a quick refresher and how many people you started with. And I don't want to go back, but I will. I'm gonna do it. Ah, there. Okay. One. Yes, there were 9. 2 people died. I hear the stomping of impatient feet coming from the crowd around us, and my heart trips at the sound. Suddenly, I'm back in the clearing. The sound of thundering feet morphing into the pounding of drums, signaling the end of the trial. But no one stopped. The drums meant nothing to us. We were all no, okay. We were all still at each other's throats. If it weren't for Andy's help, mm, Blair would have me torn by limb from limb and scattered whatever remained of me across the field for the birds to feast on. But just because she didn't kill me doesn't mean she didn't leave her mark on me. Several actually. Marks and flesh from the healers that and mangled flesh that the healers had a hell of a time mending back together. But no. It was as if none of us saw the risen sun or heard the drum sound. Okay. We were ravenous, refusing to simply lie down our weapons and surrender to each other. Flashes made us the flashes made it to us first, weaving around and between us. Then the bronze arrived, using force to pull us away from one another. I was rudely ripped off Blair after finally managing to pin her down, and I was thrown over the shoulder of a burly man before being carried through the gawking crowd. But I wasn't the only one. The opponents around me were all being hauled away and shoved into separate coaches to cool down. It wasn't hard to figure out why the king wanted to break up the fight and and cut cut us off before we could do any more damage, since it is forbidden to fight another constituent outside of the trial. Keeping our anger stifled will only ensure that the rest of the trials will be even more interesting, even more bloody. This king is fucking evil, to say the least. I'm suddenly sucked back to reality, remembering the stiff chair I'm sitting in, the stiff dress clinging to my body, and the equally stiff contestant beside me. I shifted in my seat, my arms brushing against the hard one that belongs to the prince I haven't spoken to in days. I hand run, mm. I run a hand down my rib where I can almost feel the jagged scar given to me by the same boy who almost was the who was the almost cause of Jax's death. I sneak a glance at Kai beside me, cool and collected as ever, despite what happened. or so he seems. I've gotten quite good at pinpointing the cracks in his marks, pick, picking apart of his facade. I suddenly realize that Talia is speaking to the crowd, gesturing at us with excited movements. Oh, what's there to be excited about? I don't care enough to listen to what she is saying, but the crowd is eating it up. They love this, these trials. It makes me sick. Now for what? Now for what you all been waiting for. I finally decide to pay attention to what Talia words have to Talia to. I finally decide to pay attention to Talia's words as she amplifies them across the arena. As you all know, this year's Persian trial will be unique. Excuse me. She gestures to Kai, clearly indicating that he's reason for this. Another test for the future enforcer. She continues with a flash of a blindingly white teeth, and because of that, the first trial was outside of the bowl, with with no audience to witness it. The crowd murmurs at that, clearly unhappy they couldn't witness the violence. But they do not fret, citizens of Ilya. Tilia exclaimed enthusiastically. What is there to be excited about? You will still get to watch the highlights, but without all the boring bits. She laughs and the crowd joins her, rumbling the stadium. Oof, people suck. So here's the first trial in the sixth of in this, so here is the first trial in the sixth ever purging trials. The audience roars with excitement before falling silent as we all shift in our seats to get a view of the enormous screen at the far end of the oval arena. Recording, recordings flicker to life. Snippets of each of us provided by the life, by the recordings flicker to life. Snippets of each of us provided by the line of sight standing below it. I watch myself at every other opponent wake up in the forest, confusion and concern written on each of our faces as we read the note left for us. I witnessed Blair's fights with Andy before the scene cuts to Hera. Sinking in quicksand, she stumbles into deep in the forest. She's screaming, eyes bleeding with us, now with the sight standing idly by. She vanishes from the screen, and suddenly I'm staring at Kai. But he's not alone. He's brawling with Braxton by fire, trading punches in the dim light before burning each other with the flames. The crowd cheers and quiets, claps and storms. Where am I? Claps and claps and stomps while watching the trials as though they were there. I'm silent, still, stiff backed, like my opponents beside me. We were watching ourselves fight to survive. Suddenly, suddenly my own face flashes before my eyes, and then I'm watching the horrors of those illusions all over again. Kid's dead body floating lifelessly in the pool. The starved little girls begging for help. Myself begging for help. At this, I see the terror on my face. See myself crumple to the ground. The crowd sitting beside me shifts. No, the body sitting beside me shifts. My eyes drift slowly towards him. My gaze flashes into Kai's, ignoring his clutched jaw and taut brows. It's his cloud. It's his cold eyes I focus on. I never seen so. I never seen. I never seen a stare so icy, yet so full of fire. The look on his eyes is chilling, and I shiver. It's like ice cold. His gaze, pretty but sharp, cold but deadly, half debating but cutting. He doesn't break my gaze, and I swallow. Then he's then he's saying something through his mouth. Doesn't. Then he's saying something, though his mouth doesn't open. My head whips to the screen, and I'm watching myself strain to hold my bow up with the screen. No, My head whips to the screen, and I'm watching myself strain to hold my bow up with the pain of my wound. I watch Kai rush over to me as I crumple to the ground. Watch myself worry. I watch my watch no, watch something like worry cross his face as he tries to keep me awake, tries to keep me alive. I glance at him again, but he's focused on the screen, not bothering to return my gaze. Off my back. I'm probably gonna move because this is hurting my back. Oof. I hope you can still hear me. Okay. I haven't realized he could look at me like that. Mm. Look at me like he cared. It frustrates and flusters me at the same time. But I can't seem no. No. But I can't seem to tear my eyes away from the scene playing out before me, playing out before the entire crowd. I didn't realize just how often the sights were watching us, and my face feels hot as most of my conversations with Kai, while he's stitching me up, is blasted for all to hear. The crowd is loving it. I swear I hear a collective sigh each time Kai or I, touches me or says my name, accompanied by murmurs of jealousy for that very reason. I watch Jax blink from tree to tree, and then Andy and him together screaming as dozens of snakes surround them. I watch Harris stumble across the glare before a sloppy fight ensues. Wh- One where the latter is mostly yelling in frustration because she can't find the invisible opponent. Kai and I are back again. This time I'm nursing his wounds. The crowd buzzes as they lean in to hear our teasing. I throw a glance at Kai beside me, who doesn't bother to look my way, though the corner of his lips twitch, telling me he finds this amusing. Flashes of each opponent over the days flit across the screen, fighting one another while fighting against the dangers that inhabit the whispers. Kai and I are back on screen. And, oh plagues, no. Oh, what is it now? Thankfully, the sight only caught the very end of our dance before Sadie interrupted, but it's enough to get the crowd howling with the delight. I can't say I blame them. Too much bloodshed can get boring. This is quite the unexpected twist. Their future and foresight giving them quite the show. I stare down Kai, who is, to my annoyance, smirking now. My voice is hushed, and I, my voice is hushed and highly agitated as I say, "Why didn't you tell me there were stakes found?" His eyes finally flick to mine, causing my heart to hammer against my ribcage. Stupid, stupid organ. He leans in close so that his lips brush the shawl of my ear. I was a little distracted. I will be pounding. I will my. I will my pounding fall to slow and force my eyes away from his. Turning my attention back to the screen where I watch myself fight Sadie, and then I watch her die all over again. It seems that it seems that a sight failed to catch Kai burying her, though though part of me wonders if that was intentional. The king would have likely found decency such as that to be a weakness, a flaw in the enforcer he's created. So the kingdom will never see that shred of kindness Kai showed. It seems that the secret solely belongs to the two of us. There's nothing, no. There's movement flickering across the cloud as the audience around us presses their pointer and their middle fingers together. The symbol hovering over their hearts. A diamond. Okay. Iliad's image of powerful strength and honor. They are paying their respects to the fallen. The contestants, but beside me do the same, and the crowd is silent, utterly still until the final fight at the edge of the whispers light up the screen. Blood. So much blood. The scene is utter chaos, and I have no idea where to look or who to focus to. The angle switches back and forth between between different sites, documenting the fight, focusing on different elites. I watch each. I watch each. I watch each of us fight. No, I watch each of us. I watch each of us battle against one another, out for blood. Those bloody hands. Excuse me. And then I finally get to see how Hera died. I knew she didn't make it out of the trials alive. I just didn't know why. The side focused on Braxton, blood leaking from his stab wound as an invisible knife pierces his skin, repeatedly while he roars in anger and anguish. Hero stabs him in the side, and he screams, reaching blindingly to grab the invisible knife. His fingers wrap around the hilt as he pulls it out, flipping it around before stabbing widely in front of him. I hear the sickening sound of steel sinking into skin and bone before hair is flicking into view in front of him. The blade buried in her small chest. She blinks at him with tears slipping down her face before buckling to the ground. Triangles are being pressed against hearts for the dead girl as the rest of the final fight flits across the screen. I barely watch Kai running towards the crowd, watch Jax dying in his arms before the scene cuts to one last shot of their leads covered in blood and bloodthirsty, and then the screen goes black. The crowd is only silent for a breath before erupting into applause. Ugh, they disgust me. I barely hear Talia as she begins speaking to the cheering audience, thanking them for joining us in watching the first trial. Gosh, I don't remember how many trials there are. Oh, and don't forget, she practically squeals. Your vote is more important than you know. Honor to your kingdom. Oh, don't make me vomit. Honor to your family and honor to yourself. The crowd recites the motto with her. Oh, wait, okay. And then they are free to leave. I watch hundreds of people shuffle between the rows of benches and through the wide tunnels leading out the bowl. They toss their votes into a giant glass bowls beside the exits as they pass, not realizing the power they hold with the name they scribble down. I hate the lack of control I have, or the fear constantly following me. I hate feeling so powerless. No, I hate feeling so helpless, so powerless, so ordinary. What are they voting? Am I supposed to know? That's a mystery. Only time will tell. I'm mm, I'm competing in games meant to flaunt their powers and strength of the elites, the powers I don't possess. Yet here I am, alive, and I intend to keep it that way. Someone is following me. I was heading back to my room after dinner when I suddenly felt someone close behind. I whirled my head flying to the hilt of my dagger and I whirl my hand flying to the hilt of my dagger on instinct. My eyes meet wide, startled green ones before I quickly avert my gaze. Easy, Praden Kit laughs, raising both hands in surrender. You're jumping to that. No shit, dumbass. I turn on my heels and begin walking down the hallway again. Well, don't sneak up on me, and you don't have to worry about getting stabbed. I have a feeling you'll stab someone for less than just sneaking up on you. I can hear the amusement in his voice, coding his words. Oh gosh. Like I can imagine this is cute, but I can imagine if I was in if I was with them, I would be heavily irritated by these guys. Just like, ugh, shut up. especially because they're like happy, they're like constantly smirking, they're like laughing, and I'm just like, maybe there's something with me, but I'm just like, y'all irritate me, y'all irritate me bad. Aww. The hint of a smile has me ducking in my the hint of a smile has me ducking my head to hide it when he falls with a step beside me. We're heading down the hallway towards my room when a firm hand grips my wrist. Oof. And I'm pulled into one of the many hallways branching off to my left. I open my mouth to object, but with his back turned, Kid senses it. Don't stab me yet. I want to show you something. He tosses a grin over his shoulder. A grin over his shoulders as he leans me through the maze of hallways. I finally learned my way around the main quarters, but when it comes to the dozens of smaller hallways scattered throughout this castle, I'm completely lost. Kid easily navigates them, winding in and out of different corridors, passing other sections and rooms of the enormous castle I've never I've never even seen. I'm sure he can find his way through the palace blind, a skill that only comes with growing up in the maze he calls a home. Okay. Okay. And 5 more pages. Nope. Golden sunlight warms my face when Kid pushes open a large wooden door at the end of the hallway, nodding to the Imperials guarding it before he out of steps out of the balmy evening. Excuse me. My breath hitches and my breath hitches. I'm surrounded by life. A wide stony path lies before us where several others branch off. I'm surrounded by hundreds of flowers. The gardens. It's beautiful, breathtaking. Living in the slum surrounded by dreary alleys and dull colors. I nearly forgotten how bright the world can be. Every place the cobblestone isn't touching is teeming with flowers, plants in every kind of color. Pops of fuchsia and royal blue stand out among the pale yellows and lavender. Statues litter the garden, dark vines clinging to several of them. It's the neatest kind of chaos I've ever seen, with the rows of flowers crowding around the paths, creating a railing of blossoms and foliage. Each of the stone walkway loops in a large circle, creating several rings around the massive fountain at the heart of the garden. I'd never seen anything so bright, so vibrant, and I had to blink rapidly, nearly blinded by the colors bombarding me. Between my blinks, I can see Kit watching me curiously, intently. He clears his throat and takes me no, clears his throat and takes a step onto the path, guiding guiding me beside him. I promise I'd show you the garden. My eyes swoop across the flowers as we slowly walk along the path. Kid is Kid is content to fill the silence by telling me of Kai and his adventures in this garden, pointing this pointing to the statues they've toppled over or the fountain they couldn't resist taking a dip in. I snored at his stories despite my best efforts, putting my hand over my mouth to stifle the sound. I stop abruptly, throwing caution to the wind when my curiosity gets better of me. Why? Why do this? Why do what exactly? He's not trying to laugh at me while I'm trying to. He's trying not to laugh at me while I'm trying not to hit him for that exact reason. Take me out here. Tell me personal things. Tell me personal things, and I stumble over my words in frustration. I glance into those green eyes that match the foliage around us when he slowly says, with the future that I have, it's hard to meet people, really meet people, get to know them. Most of the people in there He points toward the stone wall on of the castle. They want something, and they'll say whatever they think I want to hear to get it. But you, my but you, my dry laugh, my dry laugh cuts him off. But I tend to say things I likely shouldn't, and I tend to enjoy hearing things, and I tend to enjoy hearing those things. He says softly. My eyes wander over the flowers rather than meeting his gaze. Then I will keep that in mind the next time I wish to tell you off. I bite my tongue as soon as the words tumble out of my mouth. I may say whatever I please to Guy, but this is the future king. If I wish to keep my head, I will have to learn to hold my tongue. But the boy beside me only laughs, seeming less kingly by the second. Good, he chuckles, because I have something to ask, and I expect nothing but brutal honesty from you. I swallow. There was nothing honest about me. The trial, he says. He says slowly. Your thoughts? I choke on my scarf. That was certainly not the question I was expecting. My thoughts? You mean other than the obvious? He stops walking to. He stops walking to stop. No. He stops walking to take a step closer to me, dwindling the light distance between us. And what would the obvious be? My eyes are pinned to the top button of his shirt, so I don't have to look into his father's eyes. That these trials are a twisted way to celebrate a tragedy. And there I go again, biting my tongue too late. But there's something about this prince that makes me. mm, But there's something about this prince that makes me reckless. Makes me want to tell him exactly what is wrong with everything he believes. Tragedy, he echoes, his voice even. You mean the purging? Yes, the purging. I breathe. The banishment of thousands of people and the continuous killing of them that follows. I'm practically spewing treason. I can't, but I can't seem to stop now that I've started. Those are your people, kid. Innocent people who are still being killed today because of something they have no control over. He stares at me while I stare at his collar, avoiding his gaze. The purging needed to be done, Peyton. You know that. No, she doesn't. His voice is gentle, while mine is nothing, anything but. Why? Because because the ordinaries are diseased, supposedly weakening the elite's powers, even though they lived alongside the elite for decades. He blinks. You think they're not diseased? I'm playing a very dangerous game, bitch. You're living with an ordinary right now. Are you weaker? I clamp my mouth shut, knowing I've said too much. To that question truthfully is a risk, but it's a risk even I'm not willing to. No, it's a risk I'm not willing to take. So I take a breath before hurrying to change the topic. I just think that as the future king, there are a lot of things you need to think about. I don't look at him, but I can feel his eyes on me, and you're in enlighten me about those things. Enlighten me about my own kingdom. Play the part, play the part, play the. I bark out a bitter laugh. But don't be an ass and don't pretend you know that I bark out a bitter laugh. Don't be an ass and don't pretend to know your kingdom. Have you seen the slums? Seen the segregation? Seen the segregation? The starving citizens? Your starving citizens? So much for playing the part. I throw my hands up, shaking my head as at the flower beds. Would you ever listen to me if I tried to enlighten you? Try to tell you to make a change? Oof. He barely listens to you when you tell him that ordinaries aren't diseased. Where am I? He stands there silent and still. So I ask again, voice of urgent. Well, will you listen to me? His hands are suddenly cupping my face and guiding it towards him as I fight the urge to flinch. If I listen to you, will you look at me? My breath catches in my throat. Look at me, Peyton, please. And it's the softness, the pleading in his voice that has me taking a breath and shutting my eyes for a moment. When I finally open them again, I see I see so much compassion and concern filling his green eyes. And the first time, and for the first time, I allow myself to study those eyes, because they have never looked less like the king's. The warmth in those, the warmth in them washes over me, overwhelms me. All this time he sits quietly. I've been searching for a gaze you wouldn't give me, waiting for you to look at me in my eyes. He pauses to take a breath. Why do you avoid my eyes? Avoid me. So clearly, I've done a terrible job of playing the part. Bitch, of course. You I swallow. You remind me of someone from my past. But the more I get to know you, the more different the two of you seem. I study him for a moment, surprised by my honesty. The king and his heir may look similar, but in this moment they've never seemed less alike. He smiles softly at me. Does that mean you'll start looking me in the eyes? Only if you start listening to me. I reply with a small smile on my of, I reply with a small smile of my own. Deal. He said simply before he slowly began to head down the path once again. I have another question for you. I almost laugh, and I and like I almost laugh, and I likely have an answer for you. He smiles before his face is suddenly serious, and he tucks his mouth, and he and he tucks his hands behind his back as he walks. In the trial, Ace made you see me. In the sight of me dead, you seemed. He shakes his head, searching for the right word. I'm reminded of how he watched that scene play out on the scene in the bowl. Saw the look on my face upon seeing him. Screamed, heard the scream that tore from my throat. Upset, I said weakly, terrified even. For once, I looked at him until he met the. For once, I looked at him until he met my gaze. When I saw you dead, I guess I suddenly saw the potential. No, when I saw you dead, I guess I suddenly saw all the potential you have died. No, I suddenly saw all the potential you have died with you. All the potential to be a better king for Ilya, to make changes, to to rule how you should and not how you were told. We finally made it to the center of the garden, where we stopped beside the fountain. Now that I'm finally willing to look at him, Kid's eyes don't seem to leave mine. Thank you, says with a smile. I know I can't always count on that brutal honesty of yours, but you're the first real person I've had the pleasure of knowing in a while. I almost laugh at that. If only he knew I'm a liar and a deceiver who used him as my partner so I could get the people's attention. I stand beside him as an ordinary, excuse me, one he would have killed if he knew the truth. And I would die by the hand of his true enforcer. I'm too stubborn to admit my attraction to. And in the end, it wouldn't matter how real he thought I was. Excuse me. But I offer him what I hope is a sweet smile before turning to face the beautiful fountain that is so large. I now understand why the princess couldn't fight the urge to swim in it. I lean over the edge, peering into the crystal water, reflecting my face back at me. Chilling. They have to be hundreds of thousands. No, shillings. There had to be hundreds of them, just casually lying at the bottom of the pool. I recall how I felt. I recall how I felt on my first night here after seeing all the wasted food. I feel sick. So much money lying idly, and for what? So the rich can make their petty wishes? I gulped down my disgust. Play the part. Alright, what is it? Kid acts with more than a hint of humor. Nothing, I pause and peer at him. What do you mean? He laughs deeply. You're fighting the urge to tell me off, aren't you? I blink at him before sputtering. How do you you do this thing where you scrunch up your nose before you start arguing. It's a dead giveaway. I open my I, op- I open my mouth and for once no words seem willing to fall out. His smile he smiles as he watches me struggle before I finally clear my throat and say fine. The reason for my scrunching the reason for me scrunching my nose, I throw him an annoying glance I likely shouldn't have. It's because of all the shillings. When I don't say anything else, kid urges go on. But money isn't like well, money like this doesn't well, money like this could feed dozens of millions in the slums for weeks, months even. I say I say evenly. And yet here it is, wasting away for people's wishes. Kid's eyes flicked to the fountain and he found. You're right. I'll see how I'll see about I'll see about having it removed and distributed. My heart leaps against my chest. Really? His frown flips into a wide grin. We made a deal, remember? You keep looking at me, and I'll keep listening to you. I almost nod before turning to the fountain. I remind myself that this is a. I remind myself that this small victory with the shillings could mean nothing. In fact, removing and distributing them in the slums may never happen. But he's listening, and that is progress. Its potential. I bring my face close to the surface, trying to see through the ripplings and the shillings beneath. How much money do you think is down there? Down. My words are cut off by the cold water that rises from the pool to my face, splashing me lightly. I straighten and whirl to find Kit laughing. His hand slightly raised to the side. That damn dual ability of his. You were right, I say, with deceptively sweet smile. I will stop someone for less than sneaking up on me, perhaps even splashing me in the face. He raised his hands innocently and chuckled, a wide grin lighting up his tanned face. Hey, you're the one who called me Mass earlier. My mouth falls open at the realization that I had in fact just said that to the future King of Ilia. The look on my face has him laughing even harder. And I don't think before dipping my hand in the water and thoroughly splashing him. That was a mistake. I know no. I should know better than to start a water fight with a jewel who could who could drown me if he liked. I'm really learning that what a fucking jewel is because I thought it was only fire, but now I know I'm learning it's fire. His powers are fire and water. Okay. Water is dripping from my hair and clinging to my lashes, and then I'm laughing at the sight of us sopping wet in the middle of the castle garden. I'm still wiping sticky strands off my face when I say, "This is this was not a fair fight." All right, those were the two chapters of Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Now, I know I'm not the best reader, so thank you for anyone decides to watch this live in the future and really sit there with me. Right? Thank you, and like and subscribe.